Good evening and welcome to the scheduled meeting of the Milford School Committee. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024, and this meeting is being broadcast and recorded by Milford TV. Copies can be obtained at the request of this board and through central office. We'll get started tonight with agenda item 1, which is the MHS students present MSEN internship project.
Oh, thank you. I want to call up Sarah, Sadie, Gabriel, and Anna. They're going to talk to us today about the internship project that they were a part of in the summer. This is because of our partnership with the Metro West STEM Education Network, which involves, basically it's run out of Framingham State College. It involves a lot of industry partners. We get together about bi-monthly maybe with this group, just talking about just different STEM initiatives in the area. This is one of the STEM initiatives, so I wanted to have these 4 students come talk to you about what they did over the summer. So have at it, Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah.
I'm Sadie.
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Anna. And today we'd like to share the experience that we had working on a community solar program and how we collaborated on a website over the course of 5 weeks. This all started after we completed a training session during the winter and the spring. This selection process involved 4 sessions, each being 6 hours long. In the beginning, over 20 students had participated, but by the end, when everyone had applied for the application job, it got cut down to 7. 4 of us being us. Once the selection was finalized, we began our job in June. So we spent the first 3 weeks getting acquainted with the work environment and creating skills that we would need for our project. This included analyzing data, making mini presentations, and problem solving with our groups to better prepare us for what we had in the next few weeks.
And then a lot of the skills that we learned and developed over the course of both the training sessions and the actual internship and job itself, where we had gained a lot of skills with communication and especially feedback, since we would give these small presentations and we wouldn't just present them as busy work. We would actually have to take feedback from those around us and learn and improve on them. We also learned how to work more effectively as a team, since we were assigned random groups and had to work on a project, whether that was collecting data or reading up on a subject to later present on it. When it came to feedback, our boss, Irene, she, along with the other facilitators, reviewed every piece of work that we did to make sure that not only was it the best it could be, but also to make sure that we were learning from the process and we were actually gaining something instead of just putting out a mediocre product. Teamwork was definitely the biggest thing, especially for Gabriel, Sarah, and I, since we were the video production team for the website. So working together, both crafting the script and filming everything, was a lot of communication that we had to work on so that we could put the best product out as we could. We were challenged every day to improve our work and to constantly evolve what we were doing so that, yet again, everything that we did could be the best it could possibly be. And then by the time we actually made our website and presented everything, we felt as though it was the most refined and best possible product we could have.
Once the training was completed, the 7 of us were divided in 3 groups. 2 students were assigned to make the website and the layout of the website. Anna and another student were assigned to make the infographics, and Sarah, Sadie, and I were assigned to make the scripts and the videos. While Sarah and Sadie were making the scripts, I also helped them making translations, and then Sarah recorded the videos, and me and Sarah featured it.
So throughout the project, we had the privilege of working closely with our professors and Mass Energize, an organization committed to sustainable energy. Their mentorship was valuable, and we never took it granted. The 7 of us were truly fortunate to be selected to present our final work. In the end, the experience was about much more than creating a website. It was about learning how to communicate and present effectively, think critically, and work together in a professional setting. We're incredibly proud of what we accomplished and the skills we gained along the way. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Please.
I'd love to hear, did you take any classes at Milford High that helped kind of prepare you for this experience?
I think this internship was presented to us by some of our teachers, and personally, I think I had no experience before I had joined the internship on what was to come, but throughout the training, and we had many, as I said before, many activities, which kind of gave us little quizzes or mini little lessons on what information could be gained to help us with the job in June. So
Also, during the first weeks, we had to collect a lot of data. So the physics class I had the past year helped a lot because Ms. Travis made me collect data almost every week.
Great.
I took AP Environmental Science last year, so that definitely helped me a lot with understanding the problems we were trying to solve, because I did have some knowledge on solutions that were being made or just the problems themselves. So that definitely helped a lot with the actual learning process to help make the product and be relatively informed.
I have never had a class in here about it, but I worked with web design before,
Okay.
so it was kind of easier to do it.
Excellent. It sounds like you all made the most of this opportunity and you're all incredibly articulate, so thanks for coming to share the experience. I wish you the best.
thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
If you want to know anything about solar farms, these are your people.
Yeah?
They know everything.
That's awesome. Robin?
Well, this just sounds like such a great experience. And just thinking back to the beginning when you first, so did you apply to be part of the internship? Is that how this worked? So what ended up coming out of this, what you designed, is that what you were, was this the experience you were expecting when you applied, or was there anything that surprised you about it?
This wasn't, no.
It wasn't what I expected. It was a little bit more stressful than I expected. Well, I had to deal with things that I never dealt before. It was a way serious work environment, and sometimes things just don't work. But it was a really, really good experience that we could learn about a bunch of things that if we weren't there, we wouldn't know about it. So I really felt like a part of something, that I was making at least some change. So I think that was the best part for me for the internship.
I would definitely say it was not what I expected in the slightest. Just because even the facilitators hadn't really known what the final product was going to be, because pretty much the assignment we were given was to help teach others about community solar and all of those different ways of providing clean energy, but nobody knew how we were going to do it. So that was definitely a very difficult part of it, was just figuring that out and figuring out the best way to deliver the information in the most accessible way possible, because that's why it took us quite a bit with the scripts, because we had to not only simplify it so that anyone could understand it, but also simplify it so that it could be easily translated, because on the website we have it in English, Spanish, and Portuguese so that it can reach as many people as possible.
Also about the experience, if it was what I was expecting or not, I don't know if they told enough today, but I just learned what about was in the last 3 weeks, because the first training and everything that I want to ask, what we gonna do tomorrow, next week, and they never say that we won't make a website. They just told us like the last 3 weeks the guy's gonna make a website and that'll be easy to people to understand.
I think overall, specifically kind of in the place where I was put with video production, I learned so many like skills and kind of gave me a good idea of what it'd be like working in a real job environment where you'd constantly, have your work done, it gets sent, and you have to get sent back, and you have to keep doing it over and over again. But the frustration overall, like, it was worth it. We came out with a good product, and it was good. So
This is amazing. What's one skill for each of you are you currently applying in your school curriculum now that you learned during this internship?
Presentation skills,
Great.
something that I struggled with before I did this internship. Our boss, Irene, she really pushed for speaking out loud, being able to reach the audience in the back, kind of being confident with your, like I said, presentation skills. And I think over the course of those few weeks between those mini presentations and the overall presentation that we had done, I think that was really great.
Also, Sarah said, presentation for me also is a big thing because I'm from Brazil, so English is not my first language. I get really nervous and trying to speak English, and have trained that for 5 weeks, almost every day, speaking English in front of other people helped a lot. With not just getting less nervous, because it's impossible I don't get nervous, but also pronunciation and words and there are a lot of words that I learned there that I had no idea how to say. I would use it then every day, but I was saying wrong or I couldn't pronunciate a lot of those words.
I would definitely say learning how to revise your own product or whatever you're making. That's something that skill has definitely been really useful, especially for school, since sometimes it's hard to take a step back and criticize your own work because you think that after putting all this time into it, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But being able to not only get criticism and fix it through other people, but also looking at yourself and being able to have a lot of self-reflection, that's a big skill that I was really glad to have worked on throughout this internship.
Well, I realized that I'm meant to work alone.
That's a good thing to know.
Working in a big group, it's hard.
It is. I agree.
I think there was something that I learned about myself actually, that sometimes I gotta be a little more patient, and not everyone's gonna have the same idea as me, which is good. But I think that's the top thing that I learned. I also learned a lot how to, as Sarah said, the presentation. I think I'm able to speak more English, we say big English, say more hard words, because my first language is also Portuguese. So I think presenting and being able to feel comfortable with myself saying some words is the biggest thing for me, and that I really learned in this.
That's awesome.
I
Congratulations
couldn't
to all
say
of you.
environmental the 3 weeks of program.
Oh yeah, we tried to teach him how to say environmental for the first 2 weeks.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, he's doing it now.
Oh,
Environmental.
Environment, I got it. Yeah, they spent 3 weeks trying to teach me that.
Nicely done. Any other comments?
Just, quickly, thank you very much for being here to present. Sounds like it was a great opportunity, so hope that the skills you learned, you will be able to move forward in life with those, because you did a great job presenting tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy day. I know you guys probably don't have a lot of free time, so thanks for coming and talking to us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, on to announcements, correspondence, and distribution. Anybody have anything for that? On a head shakes. Okay, the only thing that I have here, I did receive an email earlier this week from a member of the community stating their concerns around the pest issue that we currently have at Woodland. The summary is obviously that they're concerned about the environment and what the kids are in and around. So I forwarded everyone on the committee that email, my response, and Dr. McIntyre has an update on that very shortly, so we'll leave it at that. I'm guessing he's not invitation to speak, so.
He is not here for that.
We can move on
Okay.
for that one.
You can ask him.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I can on that point, when there's something going on in any individual school that parents are concerned about or anybody else is concerned about, and you are aware of it as either as a school committee member or a parent, can somebody just send it out so that we're all aware of it? Because my first awareness of this was when you sent out a response to a thread, as it was ongoing, as you should, but can we know what's going on in our district, meaning as a committee?
Absolutely.
And I'm not laying that question to you, I'm laying that question to, or request to everyone in the district. I mean, I think we should know what's going on. We had an issue at a school. The 7 members here should be aware of it. I'm not saying we need to be involved in the resolution necessarily, but we have, 500 or 1,000 families affected and aware of it, and I, for one out of 7, had no idea what was even going on, so.
Sure.
That's my request to everybody involved going forward.
All right, we skipped over 3. There's no one here for invitation to speak, and we will move on to number 4, which is the general chairperson update. I have nothing for that, so we can skip over that one too. 5 is MSBA project update. That is actually going to be covered under the superintendent's update as well. So that brings us to the MPS policy review, first reading. The 2 files that we have linked here are file DJ for purchasing and then file ADC for smoking policy. Any initial comments or thoughts about those policies? I see no from everyone, so we'll move those to the second reading, which should be coming up. So that brings us to the fall town meeting warrant article discussion. So, as I would say, most are aware, although I was not aware until recently when I talked to town hall, the fall town meeting is October 21st, I believe. And all documents and information is due to town hall by the 30th of this month. So, we have this on the agenda tonight to discuss and also finalize. So I'll turn it over to you for the request.
Yeah, so we had a meeting with the finance committee. When was that, man? Was it July? August?
Yeah, back in June, I believe, actually.
Was it June? Okay, so it was June. And we agreed to kind of move everything to 25 except for a van purchase. And we had initially 2 van purchases. We're going to focus on 1. I'm recommending to the committee that we move forward with a vote for a van purchase to support our transportation department for students with special needs. We're recommending the amount should be up to $60,000. I'm pretty certain, I would say reasonably certain, that we can obtain a van for between $45,000 and $50,000 with everything that we need in it. But the market for cars and vans, in particularly vans and buses in particular, has been very tight. But based on just kind of having a conversation with the transportation director, because he's been pricing them for the last couple of years and kind of watching the prices and checking it, I think we can come in at, I think, around 45,000, give or take. I say 60 because I would hate to have to go back if we said 45 or 50 and it came in at, like, say, 51. I anticipate giving back somewhere between 10 to 15,000 on this particular ask, but it's needed.
John?
So the amount isn't that concerning because I would assume we're gonna purchase it from somebody that's on the state bid
Correct.
list, and we can't afford to ask for less than we need, and any extra would get turned back. But what is the purpose of this van? Is this replacing one that's currently in use, that's at the end of
So-
life? Is it, there's been some incidents that vans have been damaged in recent months?
Yeah, so this is a replacement for a van that was in an accident last year. And we had 2 vans that were on the list initially. One van, I think we can get at least one more year out of, maybe 2, but definitely 1 more year. And this would be a replacement for the van that was
So we
damaged.
lost one, and this is gonna replace one that's currently active?
No. This is replacing the one that we lost. and then we're gonna basically punt the other one to 25, or to the next year.
So, not directly related to this particular potential warrant article, but we've had a few conversations in the past year at least with town council, Chris and I as chair and vice chair last term, and I think the whole committee on some level about transportation as a whole, right? It's can be a liability to the town. There was talk about the liability fund or whatever the formal terms are. I think we should have, going forward, a focus on that, an upcoming agenda item or working group meeting, subcommittee, full committee on what we're doing with transportation as a whole. We're bringing the transportation director.
October 11th, he's coming in.
Okay, so I think this conversation needs to go deeper, but this one, to parse this out, is to replace a current van that's in use. It's not adding a van. It'll be putting one in
It's
service.
replacing a van that's not in use
That's-
currently because it came offline late in the year last year.
Okay. All right, that
To
answers.
be, you know, as
Yep,
accurate
that
as I can.
answers it, okay.
Yeah.
Quickly going back, and I forget if we reviewed it, what got kicked back, capital-wise, do you know?
There's a list of things that we had on there initially.
So I can read those off quickly. The things that we are not moving forward with right now is flooring project at Memorial,
Amount?
250,000. A gym floor refinish and painting for 50,000 at Stacy, and a science lab remodel for 500,000. And then the gym floor and stage refinish and painting for 60,000 at the high school.
The, flooring at Memorial, it was flooring at Memorial?
Correct, yes.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that throughout the entire building?
I believe so. It's not the entire building, but it's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked that, I know for Stacy, we did it in stages. We're at the 11th hour now, so and I forget again if we talked about this before, what got kicked and why. Well, I know why, because of budgetary side from the town, but, you know, instead of the 250, could we have done it in quarters or halves? And do we still have any bandwidth to talk to FinCom about that? Because again, it's obviously, we're in a tight budget situation. We don't know exactly how long it's gonna be, but can we talk to them, much like we did with Stacy, as we did things in stages?
If I can answer that quickly, then I'll let you jump in, man, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One thing we've done in the past, and I don't know if we can do this with the flooring project or not, I just don't know if we can piecemeal it, or we have to do it, because John would have a better sense of that. But I would have a conversation with Carlos, and one thing we've done historically is, if we've done things in phases, sometimes we've taken, like if we have an easy winter, or we don't have, significant increases in special education costs, it's something we could look at doing in phases, and potentially do a phase one, say in the spring, or May or June. That's always a possibility. It's
Right,
something
yeah.
we look at.
That's a hopeful.
This year, I think it's unlikely. I honestly
Right.
think it's unlikely
Yeah.
based on our budget situation.
Exactly.
But that's what we've done in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, I just look at it from the capital side of things. Did we miss something on that? I wish I had the answer to that. But again, I just want to bring it up. Maybe we should look at some of those as doing it piecemeal as opposed to an all-in-one, especially with these current budget situations.
So the only note that I'll share with that, and I just came back to my mind as I looked at this piece of paper from June, is Zach at Town Hall, the finance director, did say that $600,000 that came from litigation is essentially sitting there for us to use for a capital project, as long as we bring a warrant article to town meeting. So if the decision was we wanted to do something like this flooring, that should fit within there, and the money should be there already. Something that we could obviously discuss. Obviously, our timeline is tight because we got a late start on this time around, but
Just for clarification, we could submit really any warrant that we want. And FinCom can either say this is good or bad, and it
That's
can
true.
still go in front of the town meeting. So to your point, Chris, I'm kind of in support of if we can do this in phases, or that money that I forgot about, I mean, would be supportive of at least starting this project to get the ball rolling. Make the payment a little bit less.
Did you have something?
I was just gonna say, and I can bring it up as future agenda items, Matt, but it sounds like, did we just move everything over a column, like
1 year.
1 year? Okay, so it's just good for future discussion, to Chris's point, just kind of clarifying how we want to move it forward, so thank you, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to your point, we can bring anything we want forward to town meeting, but in a practical sense, we've been working on capital planning and everything with the finance committee for decades, so we, I wouldn't really want to jump the gun on something unless there was a critical reason to do so.
Of course.
Yeah, to John's point, I think getting the information on the current floor condition would be good. Is it carpet floors that are just worn right out? Is it a linoleum floor that is worn out, like cracking, chipping? I guess we don't have all that information too, so I think that's going to be important from the facilities department to come back to be able to justify the cost and be able to justify, quarters, halves, thirds, a full aspect of it. So
I've got a note to check with Carlos on that.
okay. And Matt, when's our deadline, did you say, for?
I was told they want all of the documentation by September 30th.
So we don't have.
That came from town clerk's office.
Which doesn't, we don't have another meeting.
Yeah, I think they wanted everything yesterday for Jerry to prepare the warrant this coming week. I don't know if that's a hard, fast deadline, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, and I don't want to surprise FinCom either, right, with this. I just want to be mindful of the project and just get more information, so.
And if it's money that's already set aside, it's something you could do in the spring theoretically, the 600,000. I mean, typically you do capital, but this is money that's already been set aside, so it's a different circumstance. Which gives us a little more runway.
I just had a quick question back to the van. I apologize. So is the intention, Kevin, with the replacement van that we would be changing routes, so there would be like smaller routes, or what is the plan, I guess?
So one of the vans that we were currently operating would become kind of a backup van, and the new van would become like the primary use van. Now, every year for the past few years, we've added kids who needed rides too, so there's a very good chance. Like we have a little bit of capacity left. I don't want to say we're busting at the seams right now. We have a little bit of capacity on a few of our vans, but the likelihood that we're in this mid-September, let's call it, or 2/3 of the way through September, I guess is the 19th, and we're almost at capacity. And every year we've added kids. I mean, one great, it's not a great stat, but a stat that we looked at this week was our McKinney-Vento numbers when I first started about 12 years ago were about 45 to 50 kids, and now we're about 300. So we've gone up about 600% in less than a decade. And then that's one number that's been growing. But we also every year pick up some students with special needs who may need transportation along the way too. So I think there's a chance that we always want a van that's got a little higher mileage to be a van in case a van breaks down, because that does happen. But we also may need to put it into the rotation at some point too.
So right now, do we have a backup van, or?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And I know we have, I believe, 2 vehicles with lifts. So and those are fully occupied. So that's not something we would ever.
We're just looking for a regular van
Okay.
on this one.
So when is our transportation director coming in? Our next meeting?
October 11th, is that the next one?
Yeah, that's the next one.
All right, I think we have so many, I don't know if this is the right word, anecdotal discussions about transportation that we really need a deep dive discussion and presentation about transportation, past, present, and future plans. Everything, it's like so out there. Transportation's over budget. Transportation's this. Transportation has this needs. We don't know how we should be contributing to the liability fund with the town. We're like kicking this can left, right, and center, but we're not having any deep driven discussions about it, and I think that needs to be a priority. I don't know if this is a full committee meeting discussion or a subcommittee and a full budget, in terms of budget, the budget aspect of it, topic, but this is too expensive, too many effects on operations that we can't, I think we've been, I don't think we've been intentionally ignoring it, but I think we need to address it and pretty much immediately.
So on that point, obviously it is expensive and it's important. So why don't we just decide right now, do we want to start that discussion next meeting as a full committee with transportation, or do we want budget subcommittee to take something up next month to start the discussion?
I think it'd be nice to hear from the transportation director, kind of like a high level strategic to start with, and then we can probably move it off the budget if we want to dig in. But I think before we get too deep, we need a high level view of where things are, what they're doing, et cetera. So.
I agree with Mike.
You're nodding. You agree? Okay, so we'll just do that. And
Same.
The
He's not voting,
Just wanted-
folks.
yeah.
as we were looking at the
Support
long-term
him.
agenda, I did
Support
give
him.
I did give Jim the heads up that we were going to be having him in that meeting, so he had plenty of time to prepare. So I know Kevin will give him the notice of what we're looking for on that first meeting, and we'll set obviously the expectation that there will be more with the budget subcommittee. So while we're talking about,
Can we, somewhere along the line, be clear between now and then, somehow have a summary of what we're looking for, so he doesn't come in here with one expectation, we hear something, and I'm looking for something, you're looking, I don't know how we work that out without, you know, it's not a deliberation, so it's not an open meeting law violation if we do discuss this via email. What are we looking for talking points or discussion points or summary points or any other points? But I don't want to waste a meeting by having him come in here thinking he's gonna tell us something and one or more of us have questions that are unanswered if they're specific. And it's probably just a starting point, but I don't want to waste that time, if that makes sense.
no, I agree with you. I would say that I think the best move there is if anyone has specifics, you send them to.
Maybe Matt, you could put out what your thoughts are and
Sure.
let us all comment to you on what our thoughts are, and you can
We can do it that
give
way.
the directive to
Yeah.
to
Does that work?
the director.
All right, so I'll share tomorrow over the weekend what my thoughts were for this initial update, and then you guys.
And it
let
is
me
just
know.
initial. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah,
I
no,
apologize, but
That's fine.
I guess I do mean to interrupt. But it's not a be all end all. It's definitely a starting point, not a finishing point.
Yeah,
but
this is a bigger topic. This isn't going to end in
one
in
session.
a 25-minute meeting, and I'm sure more questions will come up as we get answers. So I'll send out my vision for what his update will look like, and then you guys can add anything that you want, and either we can accomplish it all in one, or we spread it out.
Yeah, we can either do it at a second meeting or bring it to subcommittee and then bring it to another
Okay.
meeting. Everything's on the table.
So let me note that down quick before I forget. In the meantime, is there a motion to do something with the van out there?
I will motion to approve a warrant to town meeting for the sum of $60,000,
Up to
up to $60,000, to purchase a van.
Second.
Motion by Brendan, second by Michael. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so that moves us on. I believe, are we adding anything else to the warrant for town meeting? It doesn't look like it. So we can move on from that to the report of the superintendent of schools.
All right, I have two updates for the committee this evening. The first is pretty brief because we did a pretty extensive, or I'd say Principal Allen did an extensive presentation last meeting. Principal Allen and I will be completing both the educational profile questionnaire and Chapter 74 vocational technical education and viability documentation based on his presentation and the feedback of the school committee, which was well received. I believe I'm meeting with our consultant, James Reefstall, either on Monday or Tuesday. We're still working out the time to discuss the components of the maintenance and capital planning information and the enrollment pieces, which I think are going to be, the capital planning piece is important because it's reimbursable. And the enrollment piece is important because that ties into square footage and a lot of other factors. We remain well ahead of schedule for completing each of the required documents as outlined by the MSBA. So that's the update pretty quick. I think we have a school building committee meeting next week too.
So you're meeting with our consultant, James, what?
James, yeah.
Anybody else with you? Chairman of that
Josh,
committee or-
Josh may or may not be part of that meeting.
But we don't have our chair or the chair of the building committee with you?
They're welcome to attend, but I don't know if they necessarily need to.
So John, I was gonna suggest Chris to, because he's on facilities.
Yeah, I can make time to be at that.
And also school committee.
So,
Okay,
yeah, if you
I'll-
could reach out to me,
yeah,
see if I can.
We're looking at Monday
work
or
my
Tuesday,
schedule.
1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah, you should be able to
Okay,
work
perfect.
that through, so.
Excellent. You have one more for Woodland.
Yeah, just give me, I'm just gonna jot
Yep.
this down.
No problem.
Just make sure I reach out to Chris and put him on the invitation. All right, so this update comes from Dave McGovern, our new principal at Woodland. So I want to thank him for putting this together. It was identified at the end of the 24 school year that there was a pest problem involving cockroaches at Woodland. During the first week of July, along with the director of facilities, Dave met with Milford Exterminating to address the issue. At this time, the exterminator shared with me that there were restrictions to what can be done to address this type of problem in schools. We talked about this before. Specifically, they were unable to fog or bomb in schools because of the type of buildings they are, because there's children using the buildings. They began treatment. A treatment plan that included baiting and monitoring. Poison bait, again, approved for use in schools and daycares, was placed in areas where pests had been seen that the pests would bring back to their nests. Monitor traps were also put in these areas to catch pests to monitor the size of the population. Milford Exterminating the exterminator shared that this treatment would need to take place weekly for an extended period of time. Each week they would return to treat previously identified and newly identified areas. Over the summer, the company continued to return and execute their treatment plan. They reported decreasing numbers in the monitoring areas, while staff at Woodland started to report more sightings in other parts of the building. The company expanded their treatment areas in response to this. As the problem continued to spread, the district brought in a representative from the Board of Health. She reviewed the treatment plan and agreed it was in line with what could be done in schools. The Board of Health representative also personally reached out to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, along with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, to see if there were more intensive options available. She followed up with Principal McGovern that it would not be possible again to fog or bomb the building. However, there were more potent treatment options that could be used over a longer closure, and this has been arranged for the Thanksgiving break, because you need 5 days first to implement the thing and then enough time for it to dissipate from the building, so it's allowable for students and staff to be in the building. In closing, we're still working on the problem. The situation has improved again in many of the impacted areas, but it's spread in other parts of the building and not been fully resolved. So we're working with a company that's providing the treatments that are allowable by law and regulation. The Board of Health has partnered with us to kind of expand our arsenal of what we can do to kind of address the situation. And we got a report today actually that they're seeing a decrease, which is actually great. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so not really a question, just an observation. I mean, we had this problem in this building for the last 2 years, it being a pest problem, right? And we let some opportunities go by the wayside here because you have to give something like 5 days notice, and don't quote me on this, as a pest control company or as a district, if we're going to use any kind of a chemical here. So yeah, the February vacation, the April vacation were the times that we would have, should have, could have done something here. So I understand now that you can't close down school for a week.
Correct.
To treat this. I guess I'm going to reiterate that this week is the first I heard of this problem, but you're telling me it's gone on since last school year anyways.
I'd say late spring.
Well,
Late spring, early summer.
right, so that's, late spring is last school year, right?
Correct.
So I'm just at a loss of why the problem wasn't identified to people that could have helped solve it, right? I'm not asking for an answer, but I heard about it 2 days ago. We've had cockroaches at Woodland School since last school year. We're doing the best we can now, but I don't know. This raises more questions than provides answers for me, but I don't know what else to say.
I don't think they were going to allow us to do anything more invasive.
I don't think that's an option either. I didn't ask that.
No, but I'm saying, I think we did what we could initially. The Board of Health stepped in and was able to advocate for us to do something a little more aggressive.
So basically, we didn't need to know about it anyways. All right.
That's not what I said, John. I'm just answering, I'm explaining what happened.
So what happened is, we had a problem, you did everything you could, and you didn't notify the school committee that may or may not have been able to add something to the situation.
We're working with the regulations, under the regulations that we can work under. That's all I can say.
You can also say, you're right, John, I didn't choose to tell the school committee last year, neither did any of our administration, and we're working under the regulations to do the best we can.
All right, so let me frame this going forward with one of the comments I've heard, not just in that email, but from some others. And I think to the communication standpoint, it's probably time now to just have Dave at least say something to the parents of Woodland. Just let them know, because I think there's a two-part concern. Number one, the concern of bugs and cockroaches really freaks out some people. And others is, I think we just need to know. Parents just need to know that we're doing what we can, and this is obviously not a problem that we can just bomb away overnight like we can our houses. But I think that would be a good next step if we could do something like that.
Yes, yeah, you know, the problem is what it is now, we're restricted by students within the building. Looking back at, you know, kind of July and August, were there students in the building? And we couldn't, there was no, I mean, we couldn't really.
I'm not sure.
Simplest question is, we couldn't relocate them to bomb the building? Like, I guess I look at it from that simplistic
I'm not
side
sure
of
if
it.
they would have,
Like,
they would have initially said like, hey, I think there's probably a period of time where you have to treat it where they're gonna say, hey, go to these other measures. It's unusual for the Department of Education and the Department of Public Health to even allow us to do something a little more aggressive,
Right.
period.
Yeah, I guess, you know, trying to just you know, look back in time to solve a problem that seems to be growing a little bit, as you just reported, that it's reducing, but it's not solved. So I guess, you know, does that need to be part of our maintenance plans and programs to kind of look at shifting kids around so we can do deep cleanings of schools and you know, Woodland being the newest school that we have, and it has a cockroach problem or a bug pest problem, you know, so I think it's hard for me to wrap my arms around that, of how and why, and how we got here and why are we still battling this. So that's part of it too.
Anybody over here?
Kevin, I appreciate the Thanksgiving we're gonna do, sort of this like next level. I'm curious, how often can we do the other treatment and how often are we doing it? Like I would like to hear we say we're doing everything we can in this conversation. I'd like to
we
hear
are.
that.
That's what we've
Okay.
been doing all along.
They come daily,
they're coming,
weekly?
They're coming weekly,
Okay,
and sometimes they come more frequently than that.
okay, thanks.
But what I'm hearing here is, I was made aware through Matt's email this week of this problem that's gone back to last school year. And I think you didn't agree that you recognized, or somebody in the district recognized last school year that it was a problem. And nobody made this committee, not me individually, this committee formally aware of the problem. So somebody in the district identified a problem last school year. It only made its way to us or to me because it's been recurring for months. So I guess what I'd ask is, can you and everybody in the district make us aware of a problem that you identified, like you did on this one, last school year, of every facility problem or other health concern when you identify it, instead of 3, 6, or 9 months later? I mean, how many have gone away that we're not aware of? I don't know. Is this an isolated incident? I don't know. But as somebody on this committee, I'd like to be aware of it. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong in their treatment of the problem, but if this committee's not aware of it, it's just not acceptable to me.
We can certainly do a better job of communicating.
Thank you.
Anything else on Woodland pests?
Nothing on Woodland Pest. I just want to revert back to the eligibility one.
Yeah,
if
sure.
and when we get to that. So just quickly, you know, obviously I'll go to that meeting. And just so we'll report some more, but it's gonna, part of that meeting with James, who is our consultant, is being able to get quote-unquote points, and those points are part of the rate of reimbursement. So when you hear us talking, just know like that's part of all those maintenance and capital plans. So that's why it's gonna be very important as we're working with James and his directionality and help in order to kind of use his time to invest in a return on our investment, to make sure again that those plans, capital plans, maintenance plans, and a host of other check marks that need to be done are going to be part of the reimbursement rate for the high school project. So very important stuff going on there.
Thank you. All right. I think we can move on from the report of the superintendent. So that brings us to the report of the school business administrator.
Okay, first in your packet is the account detail report. So this is basically the same data as what you have received in the past. Just I changed the format a little bit, so it's a little easier to read. Thank you for the feedback from the sub-school committee. I just want to get feedbacks from you and see if you like the format, and see if you have any questions.
When I love the format. It's really easy to understand and read, and I appreciate that. Just a question about the final column, sum of uncommitted balance. So is that projected balance or is that current? If I'm asking that question correctly.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
totally. I can explain this report a little bit more in details.
Thank you.
So on the left part, you can see the big category and the DESI code and the description of the codes. And on the on the third number the first number column is the sum of the budget, and that's the bottom is your approved budget total.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is what we have paid out to the employees and our vendors. And the third is what we have been entered in our accounting system. And I haven't done any manual adjustment to this report, but this is what we have in the accounting system. I'm sure something will be adjusted later, like when we receive the circuit breaker quarterly, we will put the offset back into the tuition line, but it's not reflected in this report.
Got it. Thank you. And then just one quick follow-up. How do you
Yeah.
feel about the budget so far? Are we looking okay? Are you nervous?
Yeah, it's the first month.
Okay.
Just started.
What's long? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Good.
I don't want to say it too soon. I don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm gonna reiterate, it's gonna be a very tight budget year.
Yeah.
Very tight.
So when, I don't know if you remember when we first met, and we were talking, Michael and I were talking with you guys about kind of changing the way we were getting the budget report. Michael said something along the lines of, given that I'm not a numbers guy by nature, that when you guys get this together, if I can understand it at a glance, it's probably really good. This is exactly what I was looking for. I understand it. I was able to follow it quickly. It's not too many pages. You can get an understanding of where we stand, and as we go throughout the year, we're going to be able to look back and see the progress and the up and down and how it's changing. So I think this makes it a lot easier to get that higher level view about where things are standing, and I can actually look at this and say, like, I understood it without spending 3 hours scrolling through pages of numbers that hurt my brain. So thank you very much for this work.
I think it's great. Really appreciate the work of putting it together. It's certainly easier to read. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll reiterate the same one. It's incredibly helpful, particularly the nice red font, so things jump out. You know, if we want to have a discussion, it makes it very clear what we should be paying attention to. Can you just clarify the distinction between 9,300 and 9,400? The accounts.
94 is supposed to be for collaboratives.
Okay,
Maybe
perfect.
it's
Sorry,
just
I just
a
wanted
round
no
this
worries.
way.
That's fine. Thank you.
What's
Just wanted-
94 is?
Collaborative
education.
tuitions.
Gotcha.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure I was reading that correctly. Thank you. Thanks, Mom.
Sure. Anything else on the budget update?
And just add one more thing, the finance subcommittee, we discussed about the quarterly transfers. So the transfers will be between the big lines, the green highlighted lines. Is that gonna be, we can discuss more of the process we vote for the transfers.
Great.
Thank you.
And the next item is the personnel update, just for your information.
So quick question, Kevin, is Dawn Craig in for the entire year as an interim, or is that?
She is,
Okay.
yes.
Any other thoughts, questions? No? All right. Thank you very much for that. We will move on to,
One question, is that a
Yep.
contract or per diem?
Per diem.
Thank you.
we'll move on to subcommittee updates. Any subcommittees meet in the last 2 weeks? No?
Yes, budget did, right? Was that?
Did budget meet?
Was that last?
That was the week before.
Sorry.
I'm confused as to whether it was
Yeah,
before
well,
or
I have
after
to
the
look at
last.
the calendar.
We've done a lot of
I
them lately.
apologize, we may have given that update.
Yeah.
But when summarize it beautifully in our updates.
That was
If
the
there
update.
was one,
We're good.
one got it.
All right. Well, then we'll just take that
Yep.
as the
A lot of progress.
answer. Okay. So let's move on to. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda that is now 0 for 2. I'll just put that out there now. Some miscommunication and such resulted in an agenda being posted that was not set in terms of approval of minutes. So I emailed everybody an adjustment on that. So to start, I'm going to recommend that we do not include the approval of minutes in the consent agenda. We'll put that aside, and we're just going to go with the approval of the warrant, the grants, and the gifts first. So we're looking for a motion to approve the warrant in the amount of $1,198,323.59.
So moved.
Hold on. It also includes the approval of grants, the total being $321,212. And then there is one gift. The donor is Justin's, and the purpose is staff lunch in the amount of $250. Now you can be moved.
So,
Motion by Michael,
Second.
second by Megan. All in favor? All opposed? Did you get that? Okay. And now we can move on to the minutes. So again, as I noted, let's run by the list in an email, and I will speak to all of these obviously for the record as well. So we're looking for 3 votes tonight to approve some minutes. The first vote is going to be to approve the release of the following minutes that have previously been approved. That would be the executive session from September 8th of 2022, the executive session of February 29th of 2024, and the executive session of July 25th, 2024. Yes.
A motion?
Motion by
Motion
Chris.
to approve and release?
They are already approved, we just need to release them.
Sorry, just release.
second.
Motion by Chris, second by Michael, all in favor. That's unanimous, thank you for that one. So on this next one, I will try to do all of them at once, but if anybody has any corrections, we'll obviously take care of it. So this is to approve and release the following minutes, which is a revision to the July 25th, 2024 executive session, and then the minutes from the August 19th special meeting, the September 5th regular meeting, and the September 11th special working session, all of 2024.
Could you pull out September 5th? I'm just going to abstain from that one since I wasn't present, but I'd
Yep.
like to vote on the rest.
Okay. So I'll pull September 5th. Are there any other thoughts or adjustments, questions to those other minutes? I see none. So I'll ask for, let me just restate that then. I'll ask for a vote to approve and release the minutes from the July 25th, 2024 executive session, the August 19th, 2024 special meeting, and the September 11th, 2024 special working session.
So moved.
Motion by Robin,
Second.
second by Michael. All in favor? That is unanimous, thank you. And then separately, I'm looking for a motion to approve and release the minutes from the September 5th, 2024 regular meeting. Motion by Brendan. Second by John. All in favor? We have 6 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you. And then finally, we're looking to vote to only approve the executive session minutes from the August 19th, 2024 meeting. Any motion for that one?
So moved.
Motion by Chris, second by John. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Maybe next week, that'll go better. That moves us to future agenda items. I did already note down the transportation strategy discussion, so we'll start that. Is there anything else?
So the capital plan, Matt, and the timing I'm flexible on, but just to make sure that we're navigating how we want to do it.
So I think that's a good thing to bring up. We'll look at this again.
Yep.
So, hold on, making a mess. So one thing I wanted to talk about with this quickly, and I think the idea is that the capital plan should maybe land on the budget subcommittee to put more strategy into how this is laid out. When we did meet with FinCom, for example, we were going to do 2 vans this year and 5 next year, and one of the things they obviously said was, can you stagger that more appropriately so it's not such a big hit? So I'm thinking now it's probably best for the budget subcommittee to take a real look into the condition of what we're looking to replace and when realistically we think they have to be replaced, rather than just, I feel like, getting kicked down until they fit in.
So I think, I agree, by the way, but I think what happened is 3, 4, 5 years ago, we got into a tough budget situation where the committee wanted to deal with the budget as a whole and not even have a subcommittee. And that was justified and warranted and everything else. But along the way with that is a lot of work that could have been done deeper in a subcommittee setting didn't get done at all. So I agree with that. I'm just validating, I guess, or validating or explaining my thoughts on why we should do that.
Thank you. And I would say that, since I've joined the board, the budget subcommittee has been almost non-existent, right? Inactive is the right word.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as we'll see too coming up, and one other thing I'll share is that I think that the budget subcommittee has had a really big impact in a short amount of time, kind of getting revived. So I think that this is a good plan. So is there anybody? Yes.
Just to tie into that, Matt, I think it'll be important to either collaborate with or get an update from the facilities subcommittee, because their work is going to feed directly into that capital
Absolutely.
plan. So just ensuring that the timing of that lays out in such a way that we're not approving a plan and then getting an important update that would have necessitated some additional work.
Yes, John.
She said that, and I already had this parallel thought going. As our budget subcommittee has been relatively inactive, our facilities subcommittee has been not as active as I would have liked to seen it. So I think we need to not refocus, but we need to have
Get back in the
more
room
effort,
together.
more efforts into both of these committees, because they're obviously super important, and they do they go together with everything the whole committee does, and there's a reason that everything lost or didn't have as much focus as we wanted to now, but it's now time to refocus, I guess is what I would say. And I think people that have spoken agree with that.
Excellent.
Nothing.
All right. All right, so I'll just draw your attention to the long-term agenda update. Do I put that under future agenda items as just a placeholder? So there are updates on there that are highlighted. Most of them are just more points of focus, and I'll let Michael quickly touch on the budget planning update and the kickoff discussion, which are, I think, things that are going to be a little more new to how we operate in terms of starting off the budget season.
Yeah, I want to say new, prior to that scope, with a little twist, right? So I know for the past few years, the committee's been asking, how do we get involved in front of the budget cycle so we're not just seeing it at the end, right? And so working with Wen, looking at the districts, just trying to figure out, what do they do? And a bunch of districts just have the committee vote on a kind of guidance letter that goes, working with the superintendent on what's expected. It's super simple. And so, next meeting, I think we should do that, obviously in collaboration with the superintendent. The school committee basically says, hey, administration, you know, we're excited for next year's budget, and here are the three things that we're concerned about, and here's some guidance. And then the superintendent would, you know, obviously give his message in collaboration of that to the whole district to start the cycle. And then we as school committees sit back and relax, and then we get the first drafts, you know, it's the beginning of January, I think, right? And then we see based on, you know, what was asked and then what was given. So that's the only change. I
Yeah,
think.
ideally, we'll give it to you before the break, so
Hopefully.
you can have,
Yeah.
you can have a week or two to kind of digest it, because there's a lot of information in there.
Great vacation activity. Yeah, so.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, next meeting, you know, I think we should just vote on this guidance. I don't think it's gonna be a major impact, but I do like the idea of, you know, the school committee does get to have some influence and begin the cycle, have a good discussion with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent and the business administrator. You know, we all make sure everything's, you know, there. We can express our concerns, what we have, and then we move on into the budget cycle, so.
So I apologize for this in advance, but I'm gonna ask you to sort of repeat that or
Summarize it.
re-hit some of the points, summarize it.
All right, I'll
In
make it
what way are
simple.
we gonna be involved that we weren't in the past? So in the beginning of the budget cycle, which is almost now, but we're gonna do what?
So, next meeting, we're gonna do our first, I don't know if we've done it before, but first, since I'm on here, we'll have a letter, a guidance that we vote on as a subcommittee that we pass on to the administration. It says, here's what we're expecting for a budget for next year.
So that guidance would be what, like a percentage increase, or what's the guidance that we're gonna give? I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not clear on what message what directive
We'll have the business administrator, you know, do a draft so we can see before the meeting.
I think it's highlighting the district's priorities, Sean, so all those buildings are aligned on literacy, XYZ, like the top priorities for
Yeah.
the district, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
so like the guidelines would be, you know, we prioritize literacy, then we prioritize this, we prioritize that. As far as a percentage number, I'm not sure if we're gonna get there this year.
No,
because
you're explaining it well.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just wasn't clear.
Some districts actually will have a percentage, you know, here's the target that we wanna hit, I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, the percentage doesn't matter if it focuses in the wrong
Yeah.
area, I think,
Yeah.
is what you're saying, so.
And I haven't heard anything from the state level in terms of like what the SOA is gonna look like. You know, what how the state budget's looking at, we haven't heard that yet, so that's gonna really impact our ambition level too. It's just something to think about.
All right, thank you. Anything else for future agenda? No, okay.
Sorry.
Excellent. So that would then bring us to adjournment, and it's going to end our open session tonight. We do have executive sessions scheduled to both discuss superintendent contract negotiation strategy and to discuss non-union contracts. And we will not be returning to open session. I'm starting a roll call with Brendan.
Yes.
Robin.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I am also a yes. Thank you very much.